Well, good evening, everyone. How are you? Come on, this is a group of college athletes, and you give me good. How are you tonight? I heard the football players at least. I've heard that a few times. Good to see you guys. Some of you I know it's good to see you back for Team Fire Building. Tonight, it was interesting. First of all, I want to just talk about my relationship with Athletes in Action. I want to give a shout out to the staff here, but two of our close friends and who have become wonderful brothers and sisters, Luke and Christina Middendorf, have been amazing partners to us through this journey that I'm going to talk about tonight. But this organization and what this ministry has been, not only as they journey with us in life and support us and encourage us, but what's going on at the University of Minnesota campus and through campuses with St. Thomas, Augsburg, wherever you're from tonight, there's a movement happening. And I'm just excited that I get to be a part of that. I wish I could go back to college. Maybe my wife would let me. But with that tonight, I got a call from Luke, and he said, "Hey, Matt, I want you to talk about a topic, and we have a topic coming in that's been kind of an interesting one." And I thought, I'm excited to hear what Luke wants me to talk about. And he goes, "I want you to do it at Training Table." And I'm like, okay, this is going to be something great. This is going to be like how to persevere, determination. It's going to be preparing. And he goes, "I want you to talk about suffering." And I remember I'm sitting there going, well, that wasn't the exact topic I wanted to talk about. But then we began to think about the journey and the time of the year it was. And as Ashley shared, I'm going to kind of say a little something about my family, but I'm going to first introduce my family here. This is my son Carson on the far right here. He's 18. He's here tonight with his girlfriend Tatum. I like to point him out there, so maybe embarrass him a little bit. He's a high school Wayzata student. He's decided the University of Minnesota is on his list, so we'll see. My beautiful wife Melissa in the middle. She's the rock of the family. I like to call her the CEO. I'm her chief of staff sometimes. A tough job, but it's a good job, all right? Let's be straight about that. Next, I have, this is my son, Ben. We call him Jammin. Some of the football players know we like to call him Ben Jammin. We think he might be a future middle linebacker. Look at that face, he never smiles either, okay? We have to pay him to smile, okay? Then we got Johnny, Jumbo Richmann. So we call him Jumbo and Jammin. Now that sounds pretty good right there, okay? Or he goes by John Willie Wonka, okay? He likes to let us know how we should call him his nickname. And then here it is. This is my 3-year-old. Yeah, she's my daughter. She's got Julia Sophia with the bow. Now don't let the bow fake you out. She's got a mean left hook and a right jab that'll put you in your place quickly, having brothers, okay? So that is the crew, okay, coming into the night. And the reason I set that up is almost a year to the date. My wife and I went out to Santa Barbara, one of our favorite places to go, a little surf town in Carpinteria, California. And we like to make our goals. How many here are goal-oriented? If you're an athlete in here, I know you probably set some goals, okay? And we like to set our goals, okay? And we got up at we did this hike, and at the top of this beautiful mountaintop, overlooking the Pacific Ocean in this area, Carpinteria, where they had mudslides and fires here lately. We spent 2 weeks out there, and my wife and I would hike in the morning. We came up with our goals. Now, this is funny. I like to list 25 goals, okay? My wife's like, we need to limit it to 2 or 3 this year, okay? 2 or 3 key goals. So we sat there and talked, and we prayed, and we came up with 2 goals. Our goal for the year was going to be, number 1, was going to be to take better care of ourselves. How many of you know if you don't take care of yourself and do self-care, stay in good shape, mentally, physically, spiritually aligned, you're not going to be ready for life's challenges. Okay, you're not going to have the success you desire. The second goal was this: we're going to simplify our life. That sounds easy. Now, when you got 4 kids that are running around yelling, screaming, we're trying to plan a church. I was running a software brand, and my wife is, the household engineer running everything. It got crazy, and we said, let's try to simplify. Well, all of a sudden, I got home from the trip, and I wasn't feeling good. Now, my wife had beat me on every hike. I'm competitive, if you can't tell, and she's competitive, okay? She was a cross-country runner, and she's in better shape than me. So she was beating me on these hikes, and I was like, man, she's not only beating me, but she's whipping me. And I remember not feeling good, and all of a sudden, I got home and I went to my yearly physical. My doctor brought me in, we had our lab test, and he said, hey, something I want to talk to you about. I said, what do you want to talk to me about, Doc? And I'm a direct communicator. So, he's just quiet, really nice guy. Dr. T said, hey, we've seen your hemoglobin levels drop, your blood drop on the last 2 times you've been in here. I know you came in a little bit earlier and I saw you for just a routine blood test, and he said, I'm concerned. He goes, number one, I think you either have a bleeding ulcer or you have a bleeding tumor. And I said, well, neither one of those are good options, but if I could take one, I'll take the bleeding ulcer. I went out to my car, and he said, I really feel you need to go forward and get a colonoscopy. And I was 38 years old, okay? You don't need a colonoscopy. Some of you are really young here. You don't need one until you're 50, okay? So I was like, hey, this is a ways off. I don't have family history. Well, he said, I'm going to schedule one. The next Monday, it was a Friday, we scheduled a colonoscopy. I went in and got the colonoscopy. It was the last one of the day. You ever been like the last person in the line, the last person at a restaurant, they want you out of there, kind of? They were like mopping the floors up. My doctor came in, and my wife and I were like, where are they with the results? They came in, and this doctor came in. You ever seen somebody non-verbally who can say a lot without saying a lot? You know what I'm saying? They don't need to say anything. Their words, they're non-verbal, speaking loud enough. He came in, he looked at us, and he said, we found something, and it's not good. Now, first of all, someone didn't teach him bedside manner, and I had, but right when he said those words, it's not good. Then he said, it's highly likely you have a cancerous tumor, and it's significant, and you're sigmoid colon. And my wife and I heard the words cancer, okay? I know that Ashley said them, but if you hear them and it's about you, you know, when you hear about somebody else, you're like, oh, they can beat it, they can do it. You hear about somebody else, oh, it's terrible. But when you hear the own words cancer and then your name's associated with them, it's like it takes on a whole different effect. All of a sudden, my wife we sat there and he said, hey, I'm going to need you to go get some further testing tomorrow. And we sat in that room. And we thought, man, we're believers. We believe in the Lord. We've got faith. We're strong. We're healthy. We had our best year in our business, our church, our family. We were like on a high. You ever have momentum going, all of a sudden you get hit? You know, Mike Tyson has a saying, he said, everyone's got a game plan until they've been hit in the face. And I think we had a game plan, right, for the year, and all of a sudden we got hit. And I remember looking at my wife, and she looked at me and I said, this isn't real, Mike. This isn't real. We walked out of there. The next day I went to get a CT scan, an MRI, and they said, hey, this is spread. We need to get you into surgery. We can't stage it right now. From there, this is a picture of me. I went into surgery within 5 days of that. I was not looking good, feeling good at that point in time. I had 18 inches of my colon taken out, intestine taken out. They did 3 resections. They removed my appendix. They removed a bunch of other stuff. The cancer had spread in different areas. And then I walked in, and my doctor pulled me aside after the surgery about 4 days later and said, hey, pathology came in. And I said, well, what is it? He said, you know, does everybody know they stage cancer? I'm just going over this. So stage 1, 2, 3, 4. There's nothing after stage 4. Stage 4 is your worst. He said, you've got stage 4 colorectal cancer. 38 years old. And I remember just sitting there, I'm like, Lord, this isn't the plan you and I had. Has anybody ever had a talk with somebody where the plan that you had was not the plan that was happening? It wasn't working out the way you thought it was? And I looked at my wife and I thought, man, I got little kids. I got a son that's a year from graduating, that I want to see him graduate. And I said to him, so what does this mean? He goes, we're going to have to talk about, treatment regimen. Little did I know, at that point in time, I go through 12 rounds of chemo. I went through 4 extra rounds than most people do at this point in time. Went down to Mayo, went to the University of Minnesota. The odds were not wonderful. They were talking about death, survival rate at that point in time. There's a lot of stuff going on, okay? And it's interesting, we're going to get into this, but my message for tonight, and they told me to keep it within 25 minutes, and I will, so Tyler's going to come tackle me if it goes longer. But I really came up with this message. It's called The Purpose Behind the Pain. See, I was stuck here in this position like many of you might have been, where I was wondering, Lord, what's going on? What's happening here? How come you're allowing this? And all of a sudden, I got to a verse, and I want to share with you guys tonight. And it's a verse found in Philippians chapter 1, verse 29. It says, for to you it has been granted on behalf of Christ. Okay, that's my favorite part of the verse, okay? I like that part. Because I'm going, what's been granted? I kind of thought, this is a good surprise. I'll read that again. For to you it's been granted on behalf of Christ, not only to believe in him, but to also suffer for his sake. Now, the part that I didn't like was the second half of that verse. To suffer for his sake. I thought, man, Lord, I need to reread that again here. But it says to suffer. And see, the part that became exciting to me when I began to understand this is it didn't make sense to my mind, right? That sense, right? Like suffering. Whether you're an athlete here, how many of you suffer at some point in time? Whether it's a career injury, maybe you suffer because you didn't get the position that you wanted, you weren't on the string that you first string. Something happened when you felt like you were suffering in your life. It's frustrating, isn't it? And sometimes we tend to focus on that because that's what's been part of our identity for so long as athletes, right? And what I began to do is I started putting all my identity was in what I worked, what I did, what I was helping with that church plant, the board I sat on, all this identity. And then all of a sudden I started reading about the suffering part. See, when I signed up and asked the Lord to my heart and began a relationship with Christ, I hadn't read this part. Okay, I didn't read this part. I thought, okay, it's going to be great, it's going to be phenomenal. You know, life with the Lord is going to be, it's going to be smooth. And the other part that I didn't realize is when we suffer, it's for His sake. Okay, and that verse is really powerful. And this is what I really want you to grab out of this. When my mind really crossed over, as it said, I really began this. I crossed over because I began to understand the greater the battle, the greater the reward, and in the end, the greater the glory to God. What happened at a certain point in time was my wife and I grabbed each other and said, we're going to make it. And all of a sudden, people began to come around us, our friends, our family, this band of brothers that I knew from high school football and basketball, and people like Luke and Christina Mittendorf, and people began to pray, and they began to lift us up. And we felt this power. How many of you know your teammates bring power to you? I don't care what individual or team sport. They bring power. And see, I'm going to talk a little bit about this later, but you got to stay connected to stay protected. I'm going to talk about this, okay? You got to stay connected to stay protected. There's a reason why Athletes in Action is powerful, why your groups are powerful, why the staff members that lead you are powerful. They will come and surround you when you're going through the valley. See, we were on the mountaintop of the first part of the year, but then we were in the valley in the second part of the year. So as we get through this verse, it was interesting. I ended up being asked in March. I started my chemotherapy, and all of a sudden I get a call from one of my good friends that actually works out of this building too. And he said, "Hey, Matt, I know you have a lot on your plate, and this is going to be a lot to ask of you. But we can't think of someone we'd rather have speak at our large event this year to challenge people to continue to give, even wherever they're at in their life, to give and to come alongside us and a partner. And it's going to be after your first 5 chemos." It'll be in May, and we'd like you to come. And I thought, you know what, I'll sign up for it. Okay, I'll sign up for it. Because you know what I began to understand is I sat down with a woman that my friend brought me down to. Her name was Sue Royce. And she had been told she had 6 weeks to possibly 2 months to live with cancer, and she's now lived 7 years. And she said something to me. She pulled me aside. She sat me down with her husband. She sat me down with my best friend, and she looked at me and she goes, "All right, everybody leave the room. We're just going to have a little conversation, Matt and I." And she said, "What do you believe? Not what are you experiencing, but what you believe. Because what you believe is going to be the most powerful thing." And she said, "Psalms 118 verse 17 is the most powerful scripture for me in my journey through cancer." And I said, "What did it say?" And she said, "That I will live and not die to declare the works of the Lord." When that woman grabbed me and she said that, and she prayed for me, her and her husband, all of a sudden I understood that the tribulation that I was going through, the pain, the suffering that I was going through, if I went through it, and God provided provision, because He'll always provide a way through the storm, okay? He allows things, because this world, due to Adam and Eve, things are messed up. But when things happen and you hit the storm, He will provide a way through the storm. And what she was saying is, if you can not only go through the storm, what ends up happening is the glory will be to God and will help reach, challenge, and help others as they go through their trials. Amen. Amen. I appreciate that. Thank you over there. Some of you might be thinking about it today. Maybe you've had an impact of a pain. Maybe it's been an injury. Maybe you had a rough season you were coming out of. I want to encourage you today to get a different mindset on, to start thinking that the trials, the challenges that you go through are there to impact the people around you, to help others around you. At the same time, it's there to draw you closer to Christ. So, the very thing I said I would speak at this dinner was interesting. So we got to this dinner, there were 1,500 people there. I'd had my 5th chemo. My wife knows, honey was on a bad situation at that point in time. The night going in, I had been, just feeling nauseated. If you've ever had cancer, it's like this. The thing going through chemo is like having the worst flu you had, and then someone telling you go run some laps and put on pads and then get hit, and then go back out in 90-degree weather and go run again, and then come back in and go lift weights. It's terrible, okay? And I remember going into it, I felt terrible, and all of a sudden you ever had that small voice just tell you, you gotta do it, you gotta do it, you gotta go. So I remember I put on my suit, I got out there, and I went and I spoke. And the night I was speaking, this is what I want to encourage you in tonight. I was speaking, there was a guy sitting at the table, 40 years old, that had been having some of the same symptoms that I had. And all of a sudden he got chills up his arm as I was talking. He said, honey, I need to go into the hospital. I need to go to the clinic. He went to the clinic. His name's David Stay. He ended up finding he had stage 4 colon cancer that spread to his liver, 40 years old, young guy too, okay? So no reason to go in. But he knew when he heard me talk that he was supposed to go in. He called me that day and he said, will you come with me and pray with me? Will you come stand with me through this? Now this is the cool testimony about this. It's been a year. I've got my all clear, okay? I got my all clear about a month ago from stage 4 colorectal cancer. It was amazing, yeah. But at the same time, I'll tell you, David did not have that. And David said, will you walk with me and journey with me? The reason I want you to take a look at the person next to you, take a look at the person on the left of you, all right? Take a look at the person on the right of you. You need these people. You might not know you need these people. I see some of you laughing, okay? But life is about connecting with those around you, encouraging him. I helped David and became an encouragement, and what happened is the glory went to God in the midst of my trial. You see, in the midst of my trial, I said yes, and all of a sudden God began to show me pieces along my journey. I want to explain something about the warrior mindset, okay? And I know you're filling out your sheets, and I told Luke that I would help you fill them out because I want to make sure I hit on these points. But getting a warrior's mindset is about fighting bravely through the battle that brings glory to God, but also a closer relationship to Christ as a result of the pain and suffering. What I really want to talk to you specifically on that is there's two types of mentality in life. There's a grasshopper mentality, and there's a giant killer mentality. You have to choose which you're going to have. See, the giant killer mentality, as I like to say, David could have said this, like my son always says when I'm going to wrestle him. Ben always says, Dad, you're too big. You're too strong. He's 6 years old. My dad still feels pretty cool at 39 to be taking out a 6-year-old. But he said, Dad, you're too big, you're too strong. So then what they'll do is Johnny and him will get tricky. They'll start hitting me with swords in the back of the legs. And then Jules will come and kind of drop an elbow. She's dirty. She's a dirty fighter, okay? So many times Jules will be a dirty fighter. I don't know who it was, okay? But they'll always say, you're too big. You're too big, but they find a way. Same thing with David and Goliath. We've all heard the story. See, David had a choice. He could have said, he's too big. He's too big to beat. He's too big to take down. Everyone around him was saying he's too big, he's too strong. No one's ever beat him. But see, that is a grasshopper mentality. That's a small thinker. But what David did is he looked at Goliath and he said, he's too big to miss. I want to challenge you tonight that there's something in your life that's too big to miss. There's a call on each and every one of you in your teams. If you're an individual sport, if you're a wrestler, whatever it is, there's a call for you on the campus of whatever college you are on tonight that you represent that is bigger than you even realize. And a lot of it has to do with people watching you as you go through your storm. Because it's easy to be on the mountaintop, who knows that? It's easy when everything's going right, the season's going great, every practice has been phenomenal, your relationship with your coach is good. But what happens when stuff turns, you get an injury, something happens, someone beats you out of position? That's when people begin to really see the character that's in you. And I want to encourage you tonight, take a giant killer's mentality at life, because it will follow into your workplace, it will follow into your family life, it will follow you into your marriage someday. It's so key and so imperative. My next thing I want to talk about is we're going to go to Ephesians chapter 6, verse 12. And this is out of the Message Bible. I like the Message Bible. The Message Bible is like you talking to your friend, okay? It's not King James. It's like, it's cool, okay? It's the way my son would talk, like it's 100, all right? It's like that kind of thing, right? It's cool. I need to learn some new stuff from my son. He's got to help me out a little bit. But it says this in Ephesians chapter 6, verse 12. Paul states this. This is no afternoon athletic contest that we walk away from. Forget about it in a couple of hours. This is for keeps. A life life or death fight to the finish against the devil and all his angels. See, Paul is explaining the intensity of battles we'll face, yet Paul was relentless. The guy was snake bitten. I don't know if you read about Paul. Did you read about Paul? He wrote half the New Testament. This guy got snake bitten. I love watching the ones where the animals migrate and there's like the predators, okay? They're coming after him. But I noticed something. When lions, tigers, or a predator go after an animal, you know what they usually do? They go after the animal what? Which animals do they go after in a herd? And what else? The ones that get separated. The ones that get separated. It's always the gazelle, it's always the wildebeest that's kind of sitting there sipping on an espresso that gets taken out by the lion as he's coming around, right? He's just chilling. And all of a sudden this lion comes up on him. But see, the point here I want to make, and I brought this up to my son the other day, is when you get disconnected. Now listen to me. When you stay connected to the herd's strong, the team's strong. But when you stay connected, you stay protected. See, when it gets back, if you watch those, when the animals come back around, and when you stay connected, you stay protected. See, what this is, what AIA is trying to do, what your mentorship groups, what this was doing is trying to keep you protected. Because when we're going through challenges, the first thing you want to do, tend to do, is want to be isolated. You want to get self-focused rather than people-focused. And I want to encourage you tonight to stay connected. Stay connected, and you will stay protected. And remember this. Don't get self-focused, but stay people-focused. Look outside as you're moving forward. Now I'm going to get to 2 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 14. It says this. Now thanks be to God who always leads us to triumph in Christ. So there's a happy part to this. See, anything that God takes you through, okay? I know I'm wrapping this up, but I want to show you this. These are Legos. Everybody seen these before? Who likes Legos in here? Come on. Show me. All right. I don't like Legos, all right? My son likes Legos. Benjamin, doesn't he, Mom? All right, loves Legos. I mean, this kid I think is going to be a chemical engineer or civil engineer. Okay, now I just want you to look at this, okay? This is a box of Legos. And my son loves doing this. Benjamin loves to pick out the Legos, and he'll say, Dad, that's the one I want. And I'm Dad, and I'm walking down, I'm like, I'm going to give him the one he wants. Okay? I don't think about him wanting to put them together with me. Now just hear me out. There's something about this. So I got him these Legos the other day, okay? I thought, oh, really cool. Look at this Minecraft. We're going to have a fun time putting this together. And then all of a sudden we got it out, and Ben starts taking them out. I asked him if I could have them back tonight. And I start looking, and I go, whoa, wait a second here. That's not the picture here. This is supposed to look like this, Ben. And all of a sudden I look and it has 247 pieces. Okay? I wanted this, not this. But see, this is what we want in life a lot of times. When we go through a challenging time in our life, we want the picture. How many you want? I want to be the starting quarterback. I want to have it my freshman year. Why isn't it happening, God? I want to be the star volleyball player. Why is it not happening? I wanted to wrestle. I was the best wrestler coming in. How come I'm not in that position going in, coach? See, we want the picture. But see, when we're going through the storm, God brings the provision in pieces. In pieces. You get what I'm saying? So it's a lot easier when and I said, Ben, I want the picture. He said, Dad, I want the picture. But then he goes, but we got to put all these pieces together, Dad. But see what the pieces become. They become our friend and neighbor tonight, Melissa Trips. They become when our family was hurting. She came down with her daughter Gabrielle and took care of our kids so we could go to a clinic visit and brought food to our family. Pieces. Now remember this. Pieces. All of a sudden I'm sitting in a hospital room. I don't know what to do. I work on a lot of commission-based sales. And when my boss, I'm out for 8 months and he comes in and he goes, Matt, we're going to take care of your whole territory. Don't worry about it. We're going to run your team when you're gone. Pieces. Pieces. All of a sudden, a surgeon comes in. I change my surgeon. He comes in. He goes, you're going to make it. I believe in you. Pieces. See, God connects us. We're so busy looking at the storm, looking at all the problems, that we miss the potential in the pieces in our lives. As I wrap this up tonight, I want to encourage you into some things, and I want to make sure that I get all my questions answered on here. So I think one of you guys saw that we must be people-focused rather than self-focused, and I'm going to wrap this up. But isn't it interesting this? Think about David. How many stones did David have? Anybody answer this tonight? How many stones did David have when he faced Goliath? 5 stones. Pieces. 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 How many loaves and how many fish, again, did it take to feed the 5,000? 5 and 2 pieces. Do you see what I'm saying? In the midst of your storm, in the midst of your suffering, God brings the pieces to the provision because He sent His Son to the cross as the finished work. So you don't have to stay there. There is a way out. He makes a way out. That's why Psalms 23 says He will make a way through. I'm going to end with this as we wrap up here. I love the Olympics. How many like the Olympics? I like the summer better than the winter. I'm going to be honest, okay? There was some people that are friends of ours, and they love watching the marathon running. I don't know why they love marathon running. I ran one with my wife. She beat me, and I should have trained more, okay? It was grueling. If any cross-country runners in here, it was grueling. I hated every minute, but I finished, okay? Let the record reflect. I finished. But here's the point. They love watching the marathon. And one year, it was around 1978 when I was born, so that tells you I'm 39. And it was interesting. They were watching the pre-trials before the Olympics, and everyone was in the stadium. It was Mexico City. And they loved to watch the last mile was run. In the stadium, they sounded a horn, okay? And these people are crazy marathon people, okay? So they're waiting, and they're waiting. I mean, we're talking avid runners. They probably ran a couple laps before the marathon that day to watch it, and in their running clothes. You know what kind of runners I'm talking about, okay? And they watched, and they had sound the horn, and it was way past the time of world-class finishers to be done. And they're waiting, they're like, what's going on? And all of a sudden they showed this video on the video screen. This gentleman from a small African nation had fell during the marathon, and his leg was opened up all the way on the right side and the left side from his fall, and he was bleeding profusely on both legs. And they watched him as he came into the stadium to finish his last mile. And all these paramedics rushed around him, all these people looking to see what's going on with this guy, and he finished 1 lap. 2 laps. And people were watching, excruciating. And I remember these couples saying, we couldn't even watch this guy. You know, all of a sudden he finished, he limped, and he fell down to the ground. And all these reporters rushed over, all these athletes rushed over, and remember, one lady got in front of him, and she asked him a question. She said, Sir, why did you finish in the pain and in the agony you were in the whole race? Why would you finish? You could have quit. And he looked at that lady in his African tongue. He said, my country didn't send me here to run a race. They sent me here to finish a race. I want to encourage you tonight. I want to challenge you tonight that no matter what suffering you're going through, no matter what trial you're going through in your life, that God has called you to be a strong finisher in your life. And finishing requires faith. In knowing that no matter the storm, no matter the challenge, you will get through. God will never send us into a storm. He didn't provide us the power to overcome. I think I've answered all of them on there. I'm going to end by saying this. This week it was interesting. I had a biopsy of my thyroid this week because they found something on a PET scan away from my colon. And I was challenged this week to still come here in the midst of not knowing the results of my biopsy. And it's interesting. See, I've gotten through one challenge, but my faith had grown, and there's something that I'm writing a book right now. It's going to be called Have You Met Ned? And I'm going to explain this, and this is how I'm going to end, okay? I was going through my final chemos, and in August, they had found a spot down on my colon, okay? I had all these clear scans, and all of a sudden they found a spot. They had 9 different radiologists look at my spot, and they said, Matt, you got to come in to Mayo. This doesn't look good. We've had people look at it from the U. We've had them look at it from Park Nicollet, all these different places, okay? I thought, have as many people look at it as you can, because I'm clear. And I remember my wife and I came to this challenging point again of what do we believe? Were we going to trust, or are we going to go back into fear? And all of a sudden, we went in there, and I got a clear scan in the midst of 90% of them saying the cancer had been get back. It was literally a miracle. The doctor stopped me, Dr. Gross. I have it on, I actually videotaped him. I actually asked him to say it a few more times so I could hear it. He goes, we don't understand what happened, but your PET scan completely cleared up between now and the last 3 weeks. And on top of it, your colon moved back into place. It was out of place from the surgery. Your resections are stronger than we ever thought they were. And all of a sudden, he wrote 3 letters that I never understood what they meant until later on when I read them. He wrote Ned, at the end of my chart. And I ended up coming to find out that NED in the medical acronym, the medical terminology, means no evidence of disease. So now this is interesting. I read it late at night and all of a sudden evidence of doubt in who I say I am. God said to me, and all of a sudden I met Ned that night in my bedroom on my knees as I was talking to the Lord. And he said, when are you going to get to the point where Ned becomes your partner? Ned becomes your neighbor. Where no evidence of doubt becomes such a truth in your life that you bring it into your teams, you bring it into your captain's practice, you bring it into your schools. You become a guy that has a giant killer mentality, and Ned becomes a part of your everyday life. With that being said, I will say this. If tonight you're in here and you wonder, what is Matt talking about? I've been in these groups. I've been challenged by a journey in my faith. I don't know what this guy, and I liked what I heard, but man, I've gone through some things in my life. And I don't know where I sit with my relationship with Christ. I want to challenge and encourage you to do this tonight. God loved you so much tonight that he had you here in this very room to hear this message. He's not a God of coincidence. Right. He will stick closer to you. His grace abounds. I've made a lot of mistakes in my life, but his grace is deep. His love is wide for you. And so tonight, if you feel something, as I was talking tonight, or you've been maybe challenged in your heart about something, I'd ask you to reach out to any of the athletes in action leadership, or come up and talk to me afterwards. I'd be honored and privileged to come to you to talk with you.